All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 9th session. This is a series of our research methodology sessions. And if this is your first day, you are warm welcome. We are going to have a session on quantitative research approach. And our speaker will be Dr. Walter from UDOM. Most of you who have been attending these sessions, you are quite familiar with Dr. Walter. And I, Dr. Z, will be hosting this meeting. And if you have any question during the session, you can type your question in the chat box, and I'll read this question to the speaker in the end of the session. Or you can reserve your question, and then we'll be given time to ask at the end of the session. So without wasting any further time, I would like to welcome Dr. Walter to start his session. And also, this session will also be recorded and will be available in our YouTube channel. So if it happens that you do have some difficulties in connections, don't worry, we are recording the session and it will be available online. So Dr. Walter, welcome for today's session.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Dr. Zadi, and greetings to you all who have already joined in this meeting. Yes, as I've been introduced, my name is Dr. Walter, working at the University of Dodoma as a lecturer, but collaborating with the Benjamin Mkapa Hospital, running the sessions about research. So this is a continuation of our sessions that we have been conducting through Zoom. And we are now in the methodology chapter of the proposal, and then trying to pass through all of the components of the methodology section. And then currently we are in the research approach. So in the research approach, because we have several types of research approach, today we are going to concentrate more in the quantitative research approach. So I'd like to welcome you all, and I expect cooperation from you. So as we always start our session, we have something to brainstorm and even to analyze ourselves, where are we and what do we want to do. So I designed it and I developed some objectives that will guide us throughout this session. So because our agenda is on quantitative research approach, but I structured the session to start with the concept of research approach. Then you go to the quantitative research approach so that you have a common understanding of basic knowledge of what is there in research approach. And then how do we reach or opt quantitative research approach. And then later on, through the discussions, through the session, we're going to analyze it, the quantitative research approach. And then by the end, and after this session, I hope that all of us will be able to apply competences that we are going to get from this session on writing quantitative research approach section in the methodology chapter. This will be our objectives. And then how do we opt research approach? So we as researchers, you can be a beginner, or you have graduated, or you are going to graduate, but you have also conducted research. But at some point, you found yourself writing quantitative or qualitative or mixed method without knowing how did you reach in that option. How did you arrive with the assumption that this research needs quantitative or qualitative option? So what guides us to opt research approaches is always researchers' philosophy, because we believe that no researcher is intending to conduct a research without having an idea about the situation which is happening in the society or in the profession field, discipline. So your philosophy about the phenomena is the one that will guide you on opting which research approach fits your study. But also research paradigms, because we have paradigms in research. And then this is a basic knowledge of each researcher who is intending to conduct a research need to know the research paradigms, its basics, and then the skills of opting and applying them in research. So research paradigms informs us what research approach should I use or should I opt in my research. We have also theoretical assumptions also. This is also the source or the root of you opting or selecting or knowing which research approach should you use in your research proposal. So once you have this one on table, you'll be in a position to know this research of mine fits this research approach. So research approach by themselves, we have three of them, which are very basic. We have quantitative research approach, we have qualitative research approach, and we have mixed method research approach. And then see, we have three of them. Now to opt which one fits you is where now you start with what is my philosophy as a researcher? What is the research paradigm guiding my research? What theoretical assumption do I have addressing this problem in the society? So if you have those assumptions, you will be in a position to select the very appropriate research approach to be applied, employed in our proposal in our research. Yeah, because always researchers, when we are heading to conduct researches, it's like we don't see the concept, we don't see anything ahead of us. So it's a kind of, we need support to see where am I going, which route should I use, and which means should I use to get there. So philosophical assumptions, research paradigms, theoretical assumptions or model assumptions will help you to opt each and everything that we are going to prescribe in the methodological or methodology section in your research. You see? So we have driving forces that informs us which research approach should I opt and use in my research. So we have several of them, and I have selected some just to give you an overview and the basic knowledge of which criteria should you use to select research approach for your study. So one of them is ethical or moral constraints. You see, yeah, you can have a topic of interest that you want to go there in the community, conduct your research. And then the nature of the problem that we are going to address through our research is more of ethical. You see, maybe talking of sex workers, talking of maybe sexual abuse among children. These are sort of ethical issues that you need to be very careful when you go to there and explore what is existing there, what drives people to be abusive, whichever. So if you see that you have a topic, a research topic that is more of ethical, is bounded by the ethical issues or ethical aspect, mean that this will inform you which research approach, because there are research approaches that fits ethical researches or moral researches. So if we want to explore something which disturbs people's psychology, emotion, if you ask a question, the participant may cry after being asked such a question, mean that you have a topic which contains moral issues in it. So you need to opt a research approach which fits moral issues, see? So if your topic is ethical bound and it has some components or issues about moral to the study participant, mean that you need to see which research approach, as we are going to see, fits moral and ethical issues. Sometimes you'll be driven by the aim of the study, the focus, and the intent of the study. You see, if we want to establish the causal effect in your study, mean that which research approach favored such a kind of research. And then the research paradigm will tell you, yeah, it is quantitative research approach, which is appropriate to this study. See? So the aim of a study, if we want to establish or you want to quantify the information from the study participants, will give you an opportunity or the way to select a research approach. Yes, the other is research problem. The phenomena that you intend to go there and study. There is one among the driver for you to opt research approach. So you can have a problem which is not known, and then depending the people over there to tell you about the phenomena. So you don't have enough knowledge about it, but the people have enough knowledge about it. Mean that in such case, research paradigm will tell you that here fits the qualitative study or mixed research approaches. See? Yeah, and then sometimes personal experience drives us to select a research approach. You see, personnels, we are different and based on our interests and then based on our expertise. Some of the researchers are expert in quantitative quantification of information from the research. Some are better in qualitative, and some are better in mixed methods, or some are better in both of them or all of them. See? So if you have experience, I conducted 5 researches in the 2 years past, and then I did them quantitative. It will be very hard currently to opt qualitative. So your experience on the research approaches will inform you currently which research approach should you use. And then you have audience, you see. So we write researches for our consumers. After writing the research, conducting it, and bring out the report, we have consumers of it. So some of the consumers may prefer quantification or researches that have quantified information, reporting information into percentages, frequencies. They need such researches. If you have that audience and your target is on that population, mean that you will be driven to opt a research approach which is quantitative. But if your readers, your audiences, your consumers of your research report are going to be those who need narrative information or stories, you see, here they will inform you, they will force you, they will drive you to opt qualitative study or qualitative research approach. So audience is one among the force that drives you to opt research approach. Also research design, because research approach, each research approach has a bundle of research design. So you can find research approach quantitative. So we have a list of research design that are within research approach of quantitative. And then we have those study design for qualitative, and then we have those for mixed method. So if you start with opting the research design for section study, or analytical cross-section study or descriptive cross-section study, mean that you come to the prescriptions of the research approaches on each bundle, quantitative, which study design are there, you opt. So it will say, now you are going to apply research approach quantitative or qualitative or mixed. So research design is one among the driver for you to opt research approach. And then sometimes we are driven by funders, sponsors that gives us money to conduct research. Their preferences will inform you which research approach should you use in your research. Because they give you some money to spend for your research. And then they say, our mission, our vision, our goal is for you to bring to us qualitative information. So from there, you will conduct a research based on the funders' expectations and the preferences. I see. So sponsor will inform you, will drive you which research approach to opt in your research. And then we have organizational institutions. Some of the training institutions, for instance, they provide research guidelines, which most of the research guidelines in there, they've prescribed issues about qualitative information, qualitative researches. So if you are admitted in such a training institution, means that you will be forced, you will be driven to study or to conduct qualitative researches, you see. And then some, they have all of the research approach, quantitative, qualitative, and a mixed. So it's up to the student or candidate to opt based on the other criteria that you have mentioned earlier. So organization, institution, employer, your employer may say that we need such kind of researches currently because the priority of the country is in this direction. So if you go to school, when it comes to the stage of you conducting research, opt qualitative research because we need the findings of such aspect. So this one may also drive you to opt research approach. Sometimes the discipline, the field of your study. If we are studying nursing, nursing are always quantifying information. They are rarely qualifying information, you see. And then if you go to social, you go to education, those are more of qualitative. They need to determine or to define quality of the educational quality. So discipline of your study or your program will also inform you which research approach to opt. Because there are some discipline, they are typically qualitative in nature. You can never go there and conduct quantitative for them. And then there are some, they prefer quantitative. So the program you are studying may also, the discipline you have been admitted in school for, may inform you the kind of research approach to opt. Sometimes supervisors, you may be assigned a supervisor who is very expert in qualitative researches. Despite that, you have your own that I want to conduct quantitative research, but you will be at some point driven by the supervisor to conduct research or to employ research approach, which is his or her preference or the area of his or her expertise. So supervisor sometimes drives you to opt which research approach to employ in your research. And the weakest driver is mob psychology. You go to school and you are not independent by yourself. You depend from others. You wait for others to opt first. You stay mute, looking here and there, see what the others are talking about research approach, which approach are they selecting the most, and then from there you join. But it does not come from your own. It's just the external or extrinsic factor that drives you to opt such a research approach. So these are some of the drivers. We have many of them, but I tried to condense and I selected those which I thought that they may inform you, they give you basic knowledge on which exactly drives us to select a research approach. Yeah. So I've provided some brain teaser here after the above descriptions on the concept of research approach, but the types of research approach. I said the concept, and then where does the concept of research approach come? I said from philosophy, research paradigms, but also theoretical assumptions or model assumptions. So I've provided some of the brain teaser for you to plug which research approach do you think fits in the first, fits in the second, and fit in the third. So for instance, the first one, a researcher wants to understand how are the people in Tanzania feed under 5 children during rainy season. So the nature of this conceptualization of the research, of this researcher, be it the title now, what do you think the most appropriate research approach to this one? So I think after this session, you will be in a position to answer the first. And then in the second, we have a researcher who wants to generalize the information to a population as well developed and detailed, you see, but all in all, meaning of the phenomena. So such a research, our colleague is going to conduct. What do you think of the research approach that fits here? Then the third, we want to assess the prevalence and the predictors of sodomy among children in Tanzania. And then you are asked, you are given an opportunity to say, what do you think of the research approach which is appropriate to this research? So these are some of the brain teaser. There are several for you to tease yourself, whether you understand or not, whether you are going to the right direction or not. But by the end of this session, I'm sure you will be in a position to answer all of the three. I see. Yeah, so I said we have research paradigm. We have philosophy, which is a researcher's belief on the phenomena under study, which is happening in the society or happening in the profession. So we have research paradigms. Research paradigms mean that research worldview, the way you view the world, or the lens that gives you light to see what is happening in the community or in the society or in the profession. That is research paradigm. So we have two types of research paradigm. We have positivity and these two of them has such a approach of quantitative, qualitative, and a mixed research approach. So positivity blend falls under positivity paradigm. And then all qualitative researchers fall under naturalistic. So for this case, in this session, we're going to talk about the positivity paradigm because it's where research approach quantitative falls in. So when we say positivity paradigm, we say a researcher's worldview about the existence of the reality to be researched. And then this reality exists in the society or in the field, the profession. And then it does not come from air. It has its origin or the root, which is the causes. So positivity researchers believe that nothing is happening in the community or to an individual environment without a cause. And then this cause need to be researched. So if you have that belief and you have those assumptions in your head, mean that you are in the arm of positivism. And then the most likely research approach here is quantitative research approach. And then if we opt quantitative research approach, mean that we will be having an opportunity or the right way to opt research design. So if we visit some of academic training institutions, it's obvious you can see students running first to opt research design and then come to the research approach. But it's scientific, basically, you are recommended to start with the research approach, and then you opt research designs which are within that band of research approach. You see? But it's not a mistake. You can opt research design and then find its associated or its appropriate research approach. So positivism goes with the quantitative researches. Naturalists goes with the qualitative research approaches. So if you want to explore things that are not well known, and the only people over there know about it. So you don't have adequate knowledge about the phenomena, but people over there have adequate information about the phenomena, mean that you need to apply naturalists research paradigm, in which you find a qualitative research approach, because you need to go there and explore what people believe on in their living or their lives. See? And then from the research paradigm, because we have already now positivism and naturalism. Positivism for quantitative, naturalism for qualitative. Now is a time you can opt a research approach. Research approach is said is a band of activity or procedures that you as a researcher, you plan to implement them. From the broad assumptions to a detailed data collection and analysis of data. Because when you say broad assumptions, mean that is your philosophy, because it is broad, you believe, but the problem over there is very specific. So once you go there, you are specified by the environment or phenomenon, but you start with the broad assumptions. Maybe people are getting diarrhea because they don't know, they don't have understanding on how to boil water. That is your broad assumptions. But if you go there, you explore people, their living styles or eating habits, whichever, you will find that they are getting diarrhea just because they are eating frozen foods. You see? Yeah. So it involves the intersections of philosophical assumptions. And then this one brings you to the specific methodology. So you decide on the type of research study design, and then you go to research approach. Ask yourself, research design tallies with the research approach? If not, revisit your work again, share with your colleague, share with your supervisor, so that you have a very tuned work for your readers to understand. Yeah, to the key issue, quantitative research approach. The key important issue here are two. This is a systematic and a controlled research activity or procedures. And then the aim is to quantify, as I said, to quantify the information in the nature of numbers, numerics or scales, than just narrations or quotations or words. Quantitative research approach believes on the quantification of information in numbers or in scales or numerics. But it always believes that there is a problem in the society. And then this problem has its cause or root cause. And then I want to go then and research what causes this problem. If we go like this way, mean that you are in the arm of quantifying what is there. So this is quantitative research approach. The best and the key issue is a systematic and controlled procedures in the methodology. And then we say systematic because you need to follow steps. You are not supposed to jump into a conclusion without following the stages of conducting your research. So if we are in the methodology, opting quantitative, people are expecting to see how are you going to reach the region? How are you going to reach the district? How are you going to reach the village? How are you going to reach the households? How are you going to reach the population? It's a kind of procedural activity which are systematized, but they must be adhered, which is a control now. You control the procedures and make sure that each of the prescribed procedure in the methodology section have been implemented or is going to be implemented. You see? So these are some concepts that I would like also to share with you so that to give you some awareness and basic understanding of what is the origin of research approach and where do we get research, quantitative research approach. Yeah. Yes, so here now, analyzation of the quantitative research approach itself. So the nature of quantitative research approach, as I said, is quantification of information. And then for those who are doing interventional studies, they can quantify information through pre-test or post-test that is they are administered to the study participants. Pre-test for the baseline assessment for you to know the baseline status of the participants. And then you administer treatment or intervention. And then after the intervention, sometimes you offer or you administer post-test, which is end-line assessment. And then for those who are doing survey, observational studies, because there are some study design under observational, which follows under quantitative research approaches. So they can quantify through the baseline assessment. You administer questionnaire. For those who are doing observation study, that one is considered pre-test. You don't have post-test. So here now you can also quantify. You see. So how do we get quantitative research approach? Just as a kind of reminding you. This one is from a philosophical point of view of the researcher, but research paradigm and then theoretical assumptions. So in the research paradigms, quantitative research approach is found within positivity worldview or positivity research paradigm, positivity research lens. The aim and then the end point of employing quantitative research approach is to measure variables, to measure the information. And then how do we measure the information? The ACI, the standard unit of measuring the information under quantitative research approach is through scale, numeric, or you amount them so that you get the quantity. I see. And then here, as I said, researches that are applied here can be surveys, but also interventional study that believes on the baseline assessment and the end-line assessment through pre-test and post-test. You see. So the researcher under quantitative research approach is expected to test theories or models by specifying null hypotheses that will bring you to the information, either to support or not to support for those who are doing interventional study. But for those who are doing observational studies like cross-section, case studies, case series, they can also do quantify information through the best sit down, analyze, quantify, and report. So in quantitative research approaches, analyze statistical statistics from those who are study research statistical models. You need to have statistical procedures, I say. And then you need, so here is a bundle of quantitative research approach where it is and how do we reach opting quantitative research approach. I see. And then by nature, based on the strategy involved, if you establish inquiry through quantitative research approach, mean that your strategy will be in a positivity worldview. And then this always, its origin is from psychology. So we have two packages or two bundles of research. All about quantification of the information, providing numeric descriptions of the trend of the problem, be it attitude, knowledge, or skills or practice. And then they always include cross-section studies or case series, case studies, cohort. They are under these survey researches, which fall under research paradigm quantitative research approach. But we have also a package of experimental researches, which typically fall under quantitative research approaches. If we are employing an experimental study, which need development of something, mean that in the developmental part is where you can apply naturalist research paradigm, which is a qualitative study. So you opt qualitative studies, phenomenological, it's a grounded theory, you opt. And then, but if it is pure experimental research, it's where now you plug only quantitative research approach. So those which are developmental, they have to develop, implement, and evaluate, mean that because they will combine the research paradigms, quantitative or positivity plus naturalists. You see? Yes. So whichever the arm of research design, we are guided by the checklists. If we have opted cross-section, descriptive cross-section study, you need to find a checklist that will guide you to qualify this fits a cross-section study. And then after you have written your proposal in the arm of descriptive cross-section study or analytical cross-section study, you take this checklist, give your colleague, and give your work to your colleague, and say, can you pass through this proposal using this checklist to make sure that I have captured each and everything which is required for quantitative research approach in the arm of cross-section study. So your colleague will have two documents, a checklist to examine your document that you have written before even giving it to your supervisor. Deal among your colleagues. You have your colleague, you have your friend in the same class or different institution, whichever. So you write and then take this checklist that I'm going to give you or to show you. And then you say, can you pass my throughout my document using this checklist? And then your colleague will check your proposal using that checklist. If we have missed a component, this one will be close that you have not addressed this component, which is required for such kind of research design or such kind of research approach. And then we have experimental researches. And then also experimental researches has got its checklist. So for you to finalize that, I have opted appropriate research design and the appropriate research approach. This checklist that I'm going to show you will help you to prove that your document now is fit for other readers, is fit for examination, is fit for actual field data collection. You see? So one of the checklist under survey researches. Yeah, we have this checklist, which has several questions. So for those all researchers who are doing observational studies, and they've opted the research approach, which is quantitative research approach, they need to adhere to this checklist because it will help them to shape their work. So one of the questions that your colleague will check in your proposal is, have you prescribed the purpose of the study? The purpose of the study design you opted. Because we said in the methodology section, we normally ask and answer 3 questions. We ask what, why, and how. So all of these 3 questions need to be answered by you through the prescription that you are prescribing in the methodology chapter or section. And then are the reasons for choosing the design mentioned in your proposal. So if we have just said this study will employ descriptive cross-sections design, with the quantitative research approach, no rationale, mean that you have not addressed it in its full. So you sit down and check, have I provided the reason for me choosing the research design or research approach? Is the nature of the survey identified, be it cross-sectional, longitudinal, whatever, case study, cohort? Is the population and size mentioned? Will the population be stratified? So all of these questions need to be answered by you as a researcher before even you go to conduct your research, because at some point you will publish your work and people will use this checklist online to check whether your manuscript fits the journal or not. Your manuscript fits for examination or not. Your proposal need to be sent to the external examiner to examine it or not. People may use this checklist to qualify your research proposal. And then we have, this is a checklist for those observational studies. A number of questions to ask yourself or to give your colleague, rate your proposal before even giving it to the supervisor or other external readers of your work. This is a checklist. And then we have a checklist for quantitative interventional studies. Same. We have several questions to ask for quantitative interventional studies. And then you sit down with your proposal and then the checklist aside, cross-check your proposal based on this checklist. And then if we find that you have at least accommodated all of these questions, who are the participants in the study? You have mentioned them in the methodology. What is the population to which the results of the participants will be generalized? You have mentioned it in the methodology. The third question, to the end, how will the result be interpreted? You have also prescribed that information to answer these questions, mean that your intervention, your proposal in the methodology chapter or section has been qualified and has met the requirements for it to be called a quantitative research approach or a design that you have opted. So these are the checklists that you need at least to consider when you frame your proposal in the section of research, design and research approach. See? So that's all about what I prepared today to orientation on the quantitative research approach. But I thought that I could start with the research approach itself. What is it, and where do we get it? And how do we reach to the option of selecting quantitative, qualitative, or mixed research approach? And then what is quantitative research approach? How is it? And how can we reach to quantitative research approach in our researches? So I would like you to thank you and submit for any further discussions or questions, answers. You are welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Walter, for a very informative session and also a short one. So I'm going to give participants access to unmute themselves so that they can ask questions to you directly. So if you have any question, you can just try to unmute and address it to Dr. Walter. So be it a question, a comment, or an addition. Welcome.
Closing remark is, my closing remark goes to the all of participants who are with us in this session and who are not with us, where they will get this information. You should not arrive to the research design or research approach before first knowing your philosophy, your basic knowledge on the research paradigm, and then theoretical assumptions or model assumption. That is the first arm to be considered when you address the methodological section. Ask yourself, which research paradigm do I know? How many are they? And each of them, for instance, quantitative research approach or quantitative positivity. How many research approaches are there in positivity? And how many research approaches are there in natural research? So after that is where you can start writing research design, research approach. See? So I recommend and I advise you as beginners in research or middle level or guru in research. Let us consider this very basic knowledge for us not to mistake the methodology chapter or section. So that is my take-home message to all of us who are in and those who are outside. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Walter, for today's session and for all of the sessions that you have been taking us through. And we also appreciate your time that you have been giving us. So please don't be tired when we come again with another session because we'll be coming. So thank you so much. For those who want the notes of this session, I repeat again the notes and this recording will be available and shared. All the notes from the first session to ninth session will be in the channel. So if you just write BMH Zoom sessions on YouTube, you'll find all of the sessions, and in each video there is a description under each video there is a link where you can access all the notes, so it shouldn't be very difficult to find. Otherwise, thank you all of you who have been with us from the beginning of this session till now. And Dr. Walter, a lot of participants are appreciating this session. I hope you can see the appreciations in the chat box. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
And, yes, and have a great night.
Yeah, thank you.